especially for Lalidi, a better applause. Thank you very much.
His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, our guest of honor, chairpersons and representatives of constitutional commissions and independent offices present. I can see we have IBC chairperson, we have ESCC chairperson, Bishop, we have TSC chairperson, DIG Gilbert Pasengeli, representatives of Judiciary, Parliament, and Executive. Remarks allow me to begin very simply by just saying, asanteni kwa kuja. Thank you all for coming today. I am encouraged because the people gathered, we can go into 2027 as a peaceful country. We have institutions that are involved in election, security, justice. So, on behalf of the Commission, I want to sincerely thank all of you who have made time to be with us this morning. We appreciate those who have worked with NCIC over the years. We appreciate those who have politically and still remain one people. This is an important moment for us as the Fourth Commission. We have been in office for slightly over 3 months, but in the political, we came into office when the political season was already taking shape, and we don't have the luxury of spending months before settling and engaging with issues. The work was already waiting, the political rallies were already happening, the rhetoric was already changing, incidents of intolerance are already emerging, the digital conversations are becoming more heated, and Kenyans are already asking the institutions mandated to protect peace and are we doing. So over these first months, as NCIC, we have been engaging, we have been listening, we have been strengthening partnerships, we have been responding where necessary, we have been increasingly clear about both the opportunities before us and the challenges we must confront, and the legal tools that are actually available to the Commission. But those challenges cannot become an excuse for inaction. Our responsibility to ensure that where our legal framework needs improvement, and that is what NCIC is doing right now, engage in Parliament and the legislature generally. We have accepted and we are determined, and as you can see, we are already discharging our mandate, not perfectly, but seriously, consistently, an understanding of just how much is at stake. I sit here today, or rather I stand before you today, not just as NCIC Commissioner, but also as a young Kenyan. As actions taking place among young people in this country today, there is impatience, there is frustration, there is skepticism towards institutions, are sometimes made without them. But there is also something extremely positive. There is a lot of energy among our young people, a lot of innovation, extraordinary digital connectivity. And there is a generation that increasingly wants to participate in shaping the country it will inherit. So that should not frighten us. A generation that asks questions is not a threat to democracy. A generation that demands accountability is not a problem at all. An engaged citizenry is actually one of democracy's greatest strengths. Our challenge as institutions is not to silence that energy. Our constructive avenues which can contribute to nation building among the young people. And I think we must also change the way we talk to young people during election periods. We tell our young people, do not allow politicians to use you. I think that is one rhetoric that is repeated over and over. But we need to ask ourselves, have we listened to these young people? The future that we are asking them to protect, have we created genuine opportunities for them to participate? And are we engaging them as partners and peace actors that they may become perpetrators or victims of political violence? So, for us, and this our roadmap that the vice chair of our commission will come and speak to shortly, you will realize that you are launching today. And perhaps more importantly, why are we launching it now? The 2027 election is less than a year. Is that peace cannot be prepared for on the eve of an election. By the time violence has erupted, we are already too late. By the time communities have retreated, begin to accept it as ordinary political language, we are late. By the time we have young people being mobilized and organized for violence, we are too late. And through deliberate interventions long before the election day. So, my task this morning is to place before us the broader context within which the roadmap should be understood. These are all features of our democratic life. And so, we are encouraging a Kenya where, ultimately, people must be able to vote peace with anybody else. No? Our concerns begin where legitimate political disagreement turns into hatred, where persuasion becomes intimidation, where an inflammatory language creates an environment in which violence becomes possible. Our responsibility is to help Kenya develop a political culture in which we can be competitive is already before us. So the roadmap identifies these realities very clearly. It recognizes that the environment itself has changed. 20 years ago, an inflammatory statement at a political in seconds. A rumor can travel across the country through social media even before institutions have established what actually happened. An edited video, images and videos, algorithms can repeatedly expose citizens, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, all move at an extraordinary speed than they used to. The nature of conflict is evolving, and therefore, the architecture of peace must evolve before the architecture of conflict has evolved. So that is why this roadmap pays particular attention where people are worried about jobs, livelihood, in communities where we have historical grievances, where we have boundaries, land and resources, land and resource constraints that social, technological, legal, and environmental. Because all those factors can interact with the electoral competition. And if I were to put the roadmap in verse 2, how do we promote responsible political leadership among our political elites? People. 4, how do we make our digital spaces healthier and more resistant to manipulation? Violence. Those questions translate into 5 broad strategies in the roadmap. That is 1, trust building, responsible leadership, youth engagement, because I think it captures the shift we need to make in peace building. Violence rarely starts on the day somebody throws a stone. There are usually some warning signs, some rumors, some language, there might be online conversations, recruitment processes that take place before that day. And our challenge is not to merely see these things. It is what can we do when we see them? Because early warning, with what early action do we need to take? And that is why we are here as NCIC. And however, that early warning leading to early action requires coordination. Everybody has a role to play in the solution to this early action that we must take to ensure that we have violent-free elections in 2027. So because no institution has all the tools, there must be accountability, there must be dialogue, engagement, mediation, civic education. Cannot mean the absence of consequences. Where the law is broken, the law must work. The credibility of enforcement depends not merely on whether somebody is arrested or prosecuted. It depends on whether Kenyans can be. And as my chairperson, Bishop Dr. Kefa Nyamoya, always repeats and tells us, we must treat everybody equally. Freedom of expression and political participation, we must defend those freedoms. The person voting differently from one is not an... Ladies and gentlemen, our responsibility is to make sure that the lessons of our past shape the decisions we make today. And there is something interesting. We know that NCIC was formed as an aftermath of the 2007-2008 post-election violence. And it's good to know that even if it's by deterrence, we have never had such an occurrence. Our ambition should not simply be that Kenya survives another election. We should demand more from ourselves. Our ambition should be that 2027 general election becomes a further evidence, honestly, and still remain one country. That we can disagree profoundly and still live together the morning after the election. The leaders can pursue national cohesion, and that no political ambition, however important it may seem to at the moment, is worth the life of a Kenyan. And that is something, as NCIC through our chair has been, NCIC can manufacture and distribute to Kenyans. Peace is not something that NCIC can manufacture and distribute to Kenyans. Peace is something all of us.
Let's appreciate Commissioner Jerusa for those great remarks. Asante sana, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Jerusa, for the context. Well, and Your Excellency, allow that I recognize one of our key partners, having an opportunity shortly after this. We have from the UNDP resident representative, Jean Serwanga, the program manager. With us, the Embassy of Denmark, the Embassy of Germany. We have the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner is well represented. Secretary NCCK is here as Foundation Network, Ushahidi, and we will continue recognizing them. But more so allow Your Excellency that I recognize somehow along the way we'll still get to know them. Kindly get to touch base with me as I step down from the podium. Allow that before we proceed, I also recognize the Vice Chair of IPOA, Ms. Anne Wanjiko. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming, and we still have another list. Commissioner Jackson Swandi Kedogo to come, kindly, and recognize and give just a minute to half minute, so that we are on time. Appreciate Commissioner Jackson Kedogo.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Nguyo. The Chairman, IBC, the Deputy Inspector General, my name is Honorable Jackson Swadi Kedogo, Commissioner NCIC. I don't want to go, or I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said. It will be NCIC commissioners. We reaffirm commitment to working closely with the government and all stakeholders to promote peace, cohesion, and harmony across the country. We remain equal committed to supporting credible, peaceful, and inclusive electoral process, strengthen the Constitution and the laws of Kenya. And therefore, I welcome you all to this very important occasion of launching our roadmaps. Few of them, I think if you get a chance, it's well and good. And if you don't get a chance, I think the other area I will left to my chairman. For this time, asante sana. Asante. Wengine tuketi chini, wacha yeye atuwakilishe. Very brief. Asante. Tusaidie na mic ingine.
Excellency, we are so much happy to be part of this engagement. As the civil society, you know, our decisions are always independent, political wings, but we make sure that things are in order. As we go to the general election, we are all aware that election is not an one-day event. Have a peaceful coexistence election before election, during election, and after election. We must protect the image of our country. I'm here representing the civil society's organization, Run To. So we must protect this home. I'm kindly requesting the government, and I'm happy to stand here in front of you. We are aware that we are about to go to election in less than a year time. Can we have a peaceful election? Can we start a conversation with all key stakeholders? Can we bring the people with disability on board? Circumstances. When things are worse, children are getting, actually the life of children in a potato because they cannot go to school. The people with the disability, the same, anywhere in this country. We don't want to see that happening. We don't want to see politicians are being banned to go to any other area across the country simply because that zone does not belong to them. In the next general election. So let's give a conducive environment to everyone so that by the time we are going to election, we are heading to election as one united country, divided into ideologies, but not divided based on issues that can be solved. NCIC, this journey will work together with you. As the youth of this country, umekuta kuna mheshimiwa anasema akona umbrella body. I believe the umbrella body in this country is the God, then followed with the head of state. And the head of state, through the prime cabinet secretary, is here to bless this occasion. So this means that you are independent body. No one should be summoned na akose kufika mbele yenu. Akikosa that we do something called public arrest. There is no one is above the law. And even the prime cabinet has always been saying, we have one country that we need to protect the image of it. Nisikia kisema hivyo. So, can stop this madness of dividing our country based on political affiliation and political parties. Thank you very much. God bless you. We have one country. Let's protect the image of our country. Very much. Caleb Ngala from the CS.
Thank you, Ngala from Mathare. Mathare is my place. I want the media to capture that one. Hiyo nataka muweke join kwa media so that's why we have called you here, guys. Thank you. Next is the representative from our development partners, and I know there are many. We have so many here. Development partners. Let me call Jane Serwanga. Jane Serwanga, thank you, to make a brief remark.
Our electoral assistance project. And so I'm very happy to be here on behalf of the UN family, on behalf of UNDP, but also representing all here. I see a number of my colleagues. Kim, you can stand up. Kim, I think I saw UNODC. I believe I saw UNESCO. And any other UN colleagues as well and partners present, civil society, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I stand here to deliver on behalf of Dr. Jean-Luc Stallon, who is join you today as we officially launch the NCIC roadmap to a violence-free 2027 election. Uchaguzi Bila Noma, second edition. Cycles post-2010, including the development and implementation of the first roadmap to the 2022 general election. So we're happy. Okay. Am I audible? Okay, I've got the country's democratic gains. Prevention starts early, and again, the speaker previously mentioned this, and Kenya's electoral history has shown some effective prevention requires all of us to invest in early planning, in sustained engagement, and timely interventions long before the campaigns actually timely, and it is also strategic. We want to speak to the point of inclusion. And here we want to say that from the of young people, of women, of persons with disabilities, of persons from marginalized communities. And this is especially urgent in 2027 process. They are leaders, they are innovators, and they are powerful advocates for peace and for constructive. The point of dialogue and early warning. Continuous dialogue among political actors, communities, and all key institutions will remain essential. Differences are natural in any democracy. They should be addressed through dialogue, through mutual respect, and adherence to democratic principles that can identify emerging tensions and enable timely, coordinated action before conflicts escalate. Therefore, we see this roadmap as not just an democratic resilience. The UN family, through all the agencies represented here and others who are not here, together with our development partners, support various programs on institutional strengthening, which includes trust building and the prevention of hate speech and electoral violence. Therefore, as we close, the UN stands and other stakeholders in implementing this roadmap and in advancing a peaceful, inclusive, and credible electoral process for all Kenyans. We thank you.
Going very fast, eh? Don't worry about that. Let me call upon one another development partner, Kamaris. Okay. Karibu sana. Patieni makofi wa jameni. Oh. Good.
Good morning. Thank you, sir. Good morning, dear colleagues. Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary, NCIC Chair, IEBC Chair, NCIC Commissioners, NSC, Peacebuilding Steering Committee, colleagues, friends, civil society, development partners, UN family. Good morning. I could never do any justice following the dear Jane, who gave an excellent add my voice to Jane's and our UN family by noting that today is more than just the unveiling of a document. It's the reaffirmation of our shared commitment. For the United Nations, elections are a defining moment for any democracy. They give citizens the opportunity to exercise their constitution. For the elections to strengthen democracy, they must be conducted in an environment where every citizen feels safe, respected, heard, and free to participate. The roadmap launched today in the building of a culture of peaceful engagement. Let me add my voice to Jane's and reaffirm that the United Nations stands firmly with the government of Kenya and above all, with the people of Kenya in their shared aspiration for peaceful, inclusive, credible, and democratic elections. We are dignities of every Kenyan. Peaceful elections are not the responsibility of one institution alone. They require all of us to reject hate speech. We launched this roadmap today in the memory and reminder that all political competitors are not enemies. Differences should never be greater than our shared commitment to peace. Continued efforts to promote national cohesion and peaceful coexistence. We commend you and we applaud you. Let us make sure that we are able to strengthen all of to do so. We stand committed, working alongside the Government of Kenya, NCIC, all of the institutions and communities represented here, all stakeholders for a peaceful electoral period. Ultimate political differences and ensure that every Kenyan can participate in the democratic process without fear. With these remarks, I warmly welcome you all and wish NCIC roadmap to peaceful elections.
Thank you. Let us appreciate Madam Asanteni sana. Okay, I only have one person. Then the others I'll just leave to our chairman because hapa mahali ingine ni mahali mzito sana. And the commissioners, I know we have so many commissioners here, and yeah, can we have standing commissioners, please? Commissioners who are from independent commission, simameni to the chair.
Your Excellency, Honorable Cabinet Secretary, thank you. Allow me to ride on the protocols that have already been in the interest of time. I was not prepared to speak, but I think commissions, because of two reasons. Number one, NCIC is a natural partner to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Maybe it's good that we didn't swallow you because when two work together, then we are able to achieve much more. So I'm happy to be here today representing constitutional commissions. Quite timely, it's quite critical because we know that, as has been said by other speakers, that a peaceful election is not achieved. Human rights, civic education, dialogue, accountability, and a political culture that accepts diversity and difference. That elections is about rights, right to vote, but also right to be voted for. So whoever wants to stand for elections has a right to be voted. Secondly, and has also been mentioned by previous speakers, that we must learn from our history. Kenya has paid a heavy price, learn from our past and build on what we have learned on to ensure that Kenya continues to become a democratic state. Thirdly, we must emphasize that our political leaders must lead by example, because a lot of the rhetorics originate from our politicians, trickling down to the citizenry. And the roadmap must clearly call upon our political leaders to reject whatever it is that is currently ongoing, including hate speech and incitement, threats and intimidation, political violence, organized disorder, and attacks at political gatherings. We must ensure that the young people who currently constitute a significant part of our electorate, we must ensure that they participate effectively, being human rights compliant. I think we all acknowledge and appreciate that under international law, that monopoly of violence is have that monopoly of violence. But lastly, I think it's just to encourage the NCIC to work together with other constitutional commissions and independent, or come together to condemn violence, we come together to condemn rhetorics, and we come together to ensure that we strengthen the democratic, we engage with everyone within the country to ensure that we speak about violence, we speak about free elections without excluding Here, thank you very much for allowing us to be part and parcel of the roadmap today. We commit to support the Commission, the NCIC. We commit to ensure that we strengthen our very much, and we look forward to listening to what the roadmap holds for us today. Asanteni sana.
Clarice, please. Okay, let me take this opportunity to recognize the following Interreligious Council of Kenya, NCCK. Kindly stand, jaribu kusimama tuone tu wako wapi? Okay. Waje tuwapigie makofi hao, ndio wanatuweka mbele ya Mungu. Thank you so much. Continue praying for us. This country is ours. Okay, mimi nimemalizia hapo. Nasema tu kwamba asanteni sana. Na uchaguzi bila Noma 2027, NCIC, we are committed, and those who are calling us toothless dogs, we accept that. Sisi tunakubaliana hiyo maneno yote, but you know these commissioners are only 3 months in the office. Mtoto akizaliwa anamea meno mbele ya mbele, sasa hii amemea meno mbili. We have now started biting, so very soon mtaona maneno. Thank you so much. Karibuni sana.
Let's appreciate Commissioner Swadi kidogo in a better way. Thank you very much. The theme, tafadhali muelezee jirani yako uchaguzi bila Noma ndio nini? Muelezee jirani yako uchaguzi bila Noma. Baada ya kumueleza, tafadhali jua jirani yako at least mmoja pande ya kushoto ama ya kulia, mmoja tu, mjuane ibishe. Asanteni. Thank you very much. Thank you. I draw your attention now. Thank you for knowing the religious council has been introduced, but I acknowledge Bishop Juguna representing them as the chair, and Joseph and Liako representing Communications Authority. Allow that I also acknowledge Joseph Omondi, Executive Director, Midrift 100, and I continuously, we want to know this road to the peaceful elections, whether it's made of tarmac, bitumen, or it's made of marram. We want to know this road, whether it has any, how it looks like. And to do that, Your Excellency, we invite the Vice Chair of NCIC, Madam Irene Tuleo, VC, Vice Chair. Most welcome.
Our elections Bila Noma roadmap, as had been introduced earlier, Welcome our Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and National. I would also like to take this opportunity to appreciate the Secretariat who have been very instrumental in ensuring that this whole process has been done and completed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As you also realize that we are within our 100 days that had been said earlier, and most of this work, that's why I'm appreciating, already been done, and thus we are today here ready to present. Your Excellency, allow me to dive into the roadmap, which is Uchaguzi Bila Noma. I'll be covering the following. We've somehow experienced problematic elections, except for 2007, which was actually the worst in our country. The electoral cycles are characterized by systemic issues. We have a problem of winner takes it all in our current constitutional dispensation, which brings the constitution to the place of do or die affair and the struggle of power. That's why the stakes are very high. What does this lead to? Election is flawless. A truly peaceful election requires concerted effort by all partners. And that's the reason why all of us are here. And that's the reason why we developed the roadmap, which is a free 2027 general elections for Kenya. One is to strengthen the nation's collective capacity to prevent, manage, and resolve elections-related conflict, violence. Elections, general election, to foster national cohesion, tolerance, and peaceful coexistence among Kenyans throughout the 2027 electoral cycle. It was later followed by a desk review to develop tools by a task force that was set in place. We then got into data collection by the administration of issued key informant interviews with selected experts. Commissioners that we had when we came in June, we had internal validation by commissioners launching it to set off the process to 2027. Contextual analysis. As presented earlier, we are looking at 6 key factors: heavy economic burden, taxation, control of public resources, marginalization, and current economic grievances are part of the issues that were brought up. Social factors, groups within the country. Key factor also, technological factors. There's rapid digitalization, emergence of AI, which is a key thing in the current dispensation. And we look at environmental factors also. There's climate vulnerability, recurrent droughts, and when we get close to elections, we realize that politicians also tend to maximize on already weak communal security sector and within the executive. There's also dwindling trust among community members between the young and the older generations, specific ethnic communities, yielding, and currently it's been heightened even as much as IBC has not yet gazetted fully the campaign period to start, but we're already in a campaign mode. The rise in hate speech and dangerous speech, that has been quite high, and that's what you've seen in the high rates of unemployment, erosion of moral foundations. That's the reason why you find any political rally, the population that is there highly are the youth. Negative use of digital media, trend culture of violence, exacerbation of pre-existing community conflicts. The last study showed that around 35 counties out of 47 have cases yet to be addressed, like land. And then the same thing, a spike in Gunism culture, rise in insecurity, citizens taking the law into their hands. Dialogue forums with selected groups, including youth in and out of school, had to reach youth from informal settlements, border riders, interfaith, security, women, PWC, and BWD, and all there. We plan to monitor public spaces and social media for dangerous speech, hate speech related messages, investigate and recommend for prosecution. We plan to purchase software to be able. Your Excellency, this was done in 2022, And we plan this time round to also have it and have all our political leaders sign a peace charter on their code of conduct going into. We plan to start doing this hopefully in the next quarter from the analysis that we've already done since we came to office, that will be having a list of shame and a list of honor for the politicians and political class, specifically hold meetings with the principals of all political parties. And then we also plan to have town hall meetings with candidates to debate on patriotic leadership. Partnerships in X Space, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and other partners forums. Sensitization and civic education nationwide campaigns, and also as we prepare for the elections. On digital hygiene, Your Excellency, digital peace building, we advocate for the use of nonviolent communication. We plan to undertake nationwide hotspot mapping, regular conflict analysis and scenario building workshops, establish and activate the top level of mediators, set up and build capacity of county and sub-county mediation units, mitigate, resolve actors. We also plan on recruitment and deployment of peace and cohesion monitors so that we're able to get real-time information from the ground, and also we'll have information to other partners for action. We'll also have intersectoral peace building and multi-sectoral collaboration with key state and non-state actors, including religious leaders, continuous monitoring of electoral terms that we expect to have at that. Thank you very much.
We feel safe to promise Kenyans that we will work close hand in hand with IEBC to make sure that we have safe, violence-free Cohesion and Integration Commission. It's in the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, and we have the cabinet. Thank you very much, and we are honored, sir, by your coming. At this moment, I want to allow the chair to come. The chair will Secretary, Ministry of Interior and National Administration. Welcome. Let's welcome the chair. Thank you.
Guest, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and our Minister, the Cabinet Secretary, Interior, Waziri, that you found time out of your busy schedules to come and be with us. Before I make some remarks as far as the roadmap in place, one thing I've come to realize, NCIC, like other agencies, safeguard the space where elections will be held. Let's hear what they have put in.
Chair NCIC, Bishop Omai, the chief guests, Your Excellency, Chairperson of NCIC, the chairpersons of independent commissions present here, commissioners, and all invited guests. Hamjambo. Good. I know for me, this is music to my soul because we are talking about Uchaguzi, Bila, Noma. For us to participate in this important occasion and the launch of the Uchaguzi, Bila, Noma initiative, and for your continued leadership in championing to the 10th of August, 2027, which is the D-Day for our general elections, defining moment to our republic, because it is on that 10th of August date that Kenyans of all walks of life, political rights and constitutional rights under Article 38 of the Constitution, to come out in large numbers and to elect their leaders. As we prepare for 2027 general elections, we have had many other elections in the Republic of Kenya. I think since independence, Kenya has been both painful lessons, but also good lessons. In some of these elections, those of you who recall 1992, that bond of social cohesion and peaceful coexistence, and we saw cohesion and peaceful coexistence, and we saw our economy died from the growth of about 7 heading to 9%. We went context and appreciating our history and reflecting upon those lessons and making sure that whatever we do, we always sensitive as adults who are there, who experienced it, who saw it all. We must be sensitive as we engage our young people. And for bringing all of us together. This is a gathering of heavyweights. And for bringing all of us together. This is a gathering of heavyweights. You know, in the language of human rights, where I schooled many years ago, we have what you call the, but here I appreciate that most of us have what you call the, but here I appreciate that most of us who are given this opportunity to serve our country in the various positions where we are, whether it's in the executive, whether it's in the independent commissions bearers. And as duty bearers, it's our responsibility to ensure that we guarantee the rights holders, who are the Kenyans, that peaceful leaders, they can enjoy that peaceful leaders, they can enjoy their rights to a secure environment. They can enjoy their rights to life. They can enjoy their rights to property, because that's our responsibility. So as IBC, free and fair elections come 2027. And in that regard, we have speeded up our efforts to prepare for 2027. You've seen the last week we've gazetted, and we've done that. So the information is out there. We have gazetted the electoral timelines, which are mandatory, and therefore take this opportunity in politics, including the political parties, to ensure that we adhere to those electoral timelines, because they are cast in. Please do so. Don't come later on crying and shedding tears, telling us that we are treating you unfairly, and yet we have given you adequate notice. And the same applies to political one, which went successfully, and right now we have a total register of new voters of 2.9 million. Makofi tafadhali. And our target is 6.3 million, so we are doing quite well. We are continuing to register voters, even in our Huduma centers and constituency offices across the country. But very soon we will announce various organizations, some of which are present here, who have been accredited to support us with voter education, including the religious community and the civil society. And of course, we will continue engaging with all the actors, because elections is not the business of IBC alone. You know, when I go to some places, no, it's not chairmans alone, you know. Elections is the responsibility of all of us to make sure that we organize the best election in the history of the Republic. I've always been telling the youth, oh, you know, you are this, you are the future leaders, don't be used, don't be misused. I think, to put it into context, the political, from the fact that the youth are now the majority of our voters. That's a fact. When we publish the final register, which will be somewhere, and the final publication, I will invite you to study that register. You will realize that close to 70% of the register, we have the statistics and we will share with you. We will do data segregation, and you will get to know. In the last election, 2022, 64.4%. If you stretch your memory back to 2017 elections, the voter turnout was 78.9%. So that tells you to 64.4. That means somewhere in between we lost about 2 million voters who did not show up to vote for their voters come from that category of the young people, of the youth. So what are we telling political parties and politicians? You have to be very careful. The way in which, even within your party structures, or even within your campaigning strategies, the more you create the more these young people will tend to stay away from all this environment. So as we move towards the next election, I will urge all politicians to desist from activities. These young people, they see our politicians emphasizing on negative ethnicity, profiling, zoning, hate. They have a choice to stay out of it. And therefore, they vote positive campaigns that will encourage these young people, that will excite them to join in as the new voters to elect their leaders. As I conclude, I would also like to address ability. We need to ask ourselves, all these stories that we are churning out there, are they for the good of the country, of your country, or and for the elections? Are you promoting democracy in the republic, or you are stifling, or you are undermining the very same by the way in which you report facts and truths? We've witnessed a situation where the media sometimes twists facts, and when they peddle around some rumors and some malicious falsehoods. That's not good. As responsible journalists, I'm sure you've been trained, you have your code, and you should write. In conclusion, allow me to thank NCIC for activating this campaign of Uchaguzi Bila Noma. I know a bit hopeless, but when we wake up and rally ourselves around, there is a way in which we turn things around. And I've seen it in 2012, 2013, platform, Chagua Amani Zuia Noma. And I believe that this initiative of today is a continuation of that, Prime Cabinet Secretary. This is called the soft power, peace building, conflict prevention, mediation, arbitration, and all that. And I believe one of the things that I want us to dialogue with even the political competitors, the candidates, so that then we are not bogged down by the desire to mediate some of the things. But I also urge that in as much as we apply the soft power, where the soft power fails, I believe that's why Masengeli is here, represent. So I believe we will work together as agencies with the mandates and as duty bearers as we prepare the country for a successful 2020 on the 19th of August. That means our elections code of conduct comes into force. We have something called Electoral Code of Conduct under the Elections Act and under Article 84 of the. My call and my rallying cry to fellow citizens and of course agencies involved. Let us be proactive in investigating some of these political actors and their activities because they are looking for a job. So that mechanism requires that you report to us and we use that information not who is undermining the peace and stability of the country. I thank you very much.
NCIC for welcoming us. Your Excellency, the Chief Guest, Honorable Dr. Salia Mudavadi, who is and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, who is our Cabinet Secretary for Minister of Interior and National Administration, and all the heavyweights in the morning. You see, from where I come from, if it reaches at 4 p.m. and you've not taken lunch, it's still morning. And if it reaches before noon and you still feel, congratulations. Congratulations for coming for this forum. Thank you so much. As the National Police Service, our responsibility at all costs, and we will deal with it firmly, as our colleague Ngala just said. Ngala, thank you for mentioning that, a called choice. In fact, a choice between two alternatives, and the fixed resolve not to quit, a renunciation that we must. It is my honor also to attend this important occasion of marking the launch of the roadmap of free violence 2027, the same. And I would like to say that it is important, as we wish to commence this National Cohesion and Integration Commission. I commend you for taking this opportunity, and much as we are independent in our own commissions, in our own capacities, but independent is interdependence. So in our undertakings at all costs, remember, independence is interdependence, because we depend on each other. The center of gravity is Kenya. It's you and me who say that national police, it is our significant and our mandate that go beyond maintaining peace of our approach. And in this regard, I want to assure you that as National Police Service, we will continue to work closely with NCIC and other stakeholders to strengthen early warning and get into law, and at the same time, peace is shared responsibility. To the political leaders, have a particularly important role to play. Petition, respect their opponent, and communicate responsibly, particularly during the heightened political emotions, because as much as everybody has got a right, it is also equally important to embrace that peaceful 2027 general election must go hand police work. Ours is protection of life and property. And in this regard now, elections being the national security undertaking, as the National Police Service, we are at the center of no other option. And the advantage with the reality is that we have to abide by the reality or you suffer. National Police Service will work with other agencies or security agents by securing arrangements programs which are co-chaired by IEPC and IG, with participation of other agencies and organizations, including NCIC. Investigation, arrests, prevention of crime, and instances of political instigated violence. We will deal with goons, family, and their sponsors. Track record of promoting or perpetrating violence in Kenya. Observe political and civil rights as all of us. I also challenge you to go back to the Constitution and get a glimpse of you have all the freedom to do whatever you want to do. But there are some limits when it comes to threat the nation here to protect and safeguard greater good of public security, safeguarding while respecting individual rights. Also, remember to do the right thing in the right way for the good reason.
That's our chair, IBC. Before I bring to the podium our Cabinet Secretary, say a few or make a few remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great deed and privilege to welcome you today for this launch of the roadmap to violence-free 2027 Uchaguzi, Bila, Noma. By the way, from where I come from, some of you have got wristwatches, I believe, smart watches that normally indicate that it's time for you to stretch. If you have done so, you may be seated. There's wisdom behind that. This roadmap, distinguished guests who have come to be with us this morning, is a significant part of our rapid response initiative, and is a testament to our collective journey at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission as we mark 98 days since assuming office as the fourth commission. This milestone is a clear demonstration of our shared commitment in ensuring that the 2027 generals of all Kenyans. Elections, ladies and gentlemen, are a fundamental pillar to choose their leaders and participate in shaping the future of our country. However, our history of heightened detention, division, intolerance, and in some instances, violence. As we move towards the 2027 general elections, as our must never come at the expense of human life, national unity, or the peace and stability of our country. So the launch of this roadmap, it's a call to action. It's a collective commitment by institutions, leaders, communities, and citizens to begin the work of prevention of violence early enough. Response. You have heard me say it again and again. We are not a reactive commission. We are a preventive commission. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission is deeply concerned by the growing manifestations of political intolerance, expletive rhetoric in our public discourse. Words spoken carelessly by leaders and influential individuals can deepen divisions. Fuel missed. We must therefore remember that leadership carries responsibility. So as we approach the 2027 elections, political leaders, aspirants, opinion influence must exercise restraint, responsibility, and patriotism. We must reject the politics of exclusion at all costs and to the people. The roadmap we launched today provides an important framework for coordinated action. Achieving violence-free elections that cannot be left to only one institution. It requires a multi-sectoral approach, collaborative approach, bringing together various non-governmental and governmental security agencies, political actors, civil society, the media, interfaith leaders, and in our midst are quite a number of our interfaith leaders, development the youth, among others, as has been explained. So our main focus as a commission must be on prevention. Launch today. We must strengthen early warning and early response mechanisms, address triggers to conflicts before they escalate, counter hate speech. As Commissioner Kedogo said, when a baby is born, you give him or her time to grow teeth. And once the teeth are begun to emerge, mothers, you know what happens. We have begun biting. And this one is going to be done fairly, but without any those who trigger hate speech. Apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, in this early warning, we want to make sure we address triggers to conflicts, disinformation, promote dialogue and reconciliation, and ensure that communities are equipped with the tools and platforms necessary to resolve disputes. Critical constituency in our electoral and democratic processes must be placed at the center of peace-building efforts, and that's why we have what we call this transgenerational political violence, but as partners and leaders in the peace-building process in Kenya. Fellow Kenyans, peaceful elections as we address and the relationships we build among communities. The work begins now, and it begins with you and me. Can you please look at your neighbor? And it begins with you and me. That's the collaboration we are talking about. So as the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, we reaffirm our commitment to working with all states and responding to hate speech and ethnic contempt, facilitating dialogue, supporting peace structures, and promoting responsible leadership and citizenship. Every leader must choose responsible speech over inflammatory rhetoric. Every political party must place the interests of the country above that we call Roadmap to Violence-Free 2027 General Elections, Uchaguzi, Bila, Noma. Let it serve as our collective declaration that Kenya's electoral process, where political competition does not divide, where diversity is celebrated rather than weaponized, and where every Kenyan can participate freely and safely in the democratic process. The 2027 general elections must demonstrate the strength of our national cohesion. Let us therefore walk this journey together with vigilance, responsibility, courage, and an unwavering commitment to sustainable peace. Development of this roadmap, and who continue to work tirelessly towards a peaceful Kenya. We appreciate all partners who continue to be key players towards the realization of the roadmap, engaging the youth through the transgenerational conversations, town halls, hate speech monitoring, peace dissemination of key policies. We also want to thank the executive. We thank His Excellency the President of the and all leaders of goodwill for their support. We have called on our leaders through courteous calls to our chief guest, His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and I've also been on our Minister, our CS Interior, that if there was a time NCAC needed all the support, like IEPC, through what we call the multi-sectoral collaboration is now. If there was a place, our chief guest and our cabinet secretary, you really push to making sure there is adequate resourcing is in NCIC. Why? Before elections, we must safeguard that vision that the president has, all of us have. What we would want to see, what we have had is actualized. I close by saying, together, let us build a united and cohesive Kenya, for we are a people guided by one people, one nation with a shared destiny. Thank you so much. It gives me great pleasure now to welcome to this podium the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior. You bring to us, to the podium,
thank you very much,
our chief guest.
Thank you, Chair. Pigeni makofi, Chair wa asante sana. I think I will need some help here with my gadget, with the person who was here. First of all, let me say the Chair, Your Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, AC, our friend and our very robust Chair, Kefomai, I know him as Bishop, but now I can see you're preaching the Deputy Inspector General of Police, the commissioners, the excellencies from various agencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Good morning once again. Good morning. As you can see, I've lost my notes. So if I speak a lot, that is the problem of technology. Next time, I'll come with a backup. First of all, I'm appreciative of the fact that you have invited us to this very important forum. As a ministry, gap, and that is when I realized that you need NCIC, and we need NCIC. And so let me start by saying that for your thoughts, for your plans, for the appreciation of the environment you're operating in, it looks like you are a team that because I can see, and Kenyans need to appreciate that your understanding of the environment you're operating in means that the process that identified you was a proper process, and we truly appreciate the work you have done. Maybe let me have my phone. I can use my phone. Whatever, your whole speech is here. Okay, she had succeeded. Thank you. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Let me say that I want to thank the Prime Cabinet Secretary for gracing the launch of this commission. Thank you, Prime Cabinet Secretary. There would be no better person to launch such a document. I have always said that in the political scene, you are the test of the reasonable man. So, environment, who has a track record of having never thrown one stone. I appreciate the work you are doing, Your Excellency, with the President, and your track record over many years in your political circle. You have kept high level of integrity, and that qualifies you to speak on matters of national cohesion, integration, and peaceful elections. So you are really the right person befitting to come and launch this very important document. The Ministry of Interior stands ready to work with NCIC and IBC and all the relevant agencies to translate the roadmap into action. The 2027 general election must demonstrate that Kenya can compete politically without sacrificing peace, unity, and national progress. The lessons we learned from the 2007-2008 general election remain a national reminder should be willing to repeat. The 2027, therefore, is an opportunity for us to disagree without dividing, that you know that 70% of Kenyan population is below 35 or thereabout. I guess we assume that some of us who are young those days still think we are young. And so you assume everybody is, since you meet a 20-year-old, you think they know what happened 2007-2008, except what they read from the papers and so forth. And then we have a very poor teaching methods in Kenya where history is not considered very seriously, and You know, if you see other progressive countries, they keep repeating incidences as history, as part of their teaching and lessons for their people. So many young people may never really appreciate what happened in 2007, 2008. But those of us, most of us who are in this room, understand what happened. And it's important for us to say that in these elections, as a Kenyans, not leaving it to government or to the National Police Service or the Ministry of Interior or the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, we need to choose that we can disagree without dividing our country, and we can compete without destroying either lives or property. Our task now is to institutionalize peace and ensure that the 2027 is remembered for the maturity of our democracy, not for the division. Ladies and gentlemen, security must create the conditions in which Kenyans can participate freely while remaining simply the absence of violence. It is an environment in which Kenyans can assemble, campaign, speak, vote, and engage in public life without intimidation or fear. And I have or fear. Because the rhetoric that is out there now is that people are being told that if we hear you campaigning for X and Y, yeah, you are ostracized, you are msaliti, you are betrayer, community or locality. I cannot be allowed to speak about my political views freely because I have been intimidated. In fact, to the extent that politicians are saying, if that is violence, and so the same people speak on both sides, they're talking about goons and they're propagating violence in the same meeting. So we need an environment that is why I agree with everybody who has said here that security is not about police, it's not about the National Police Service, it's about all of us. It's because, just imagine, to deploy, to monitor every activity that is going to happen in the country. You can't. There has to be a culture in this, and the acceptance in the society among all of us. Therefore, it starts with us. Interestingly, Bishop, now that you are here and you are Bishop, interestingly, this is the same country that calls itself 80% religious, and most of them say they are Christians. And these statements are being made in church, And the Bishop will conclude with a prayer without standing and saying, no, I disagree with what these people have said here. Members of this church, go home, vote for whoever you want to vote for, you will still go to heaven. Are identified early, assessed jointly, and addressed lawfully. Security operations during the electoral period must be professional, accountable. Security response is the one that prevents violence before it starts. I have been accused of public saying, oh, we know some politicians, you're planning this, we know you're doing this. You need to differentiate between, and then people say, okay, so why don't you arrest them? Why don't you arrest them? Why are you not? And evidence, When we have security intelligence, we use it to warn people. It's part of the, early warning. We use it to expose the politicians or the actors who will want to destroy our country. We use it to warn citizens and to ask them to cooperate. But, stand the test of court as evidence, we have to use that information to warn people early, to tell them we know some people are trying to do this. Sometimes you position police officers in certain areas in what you have collected in the evidence. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But you use that for deployment and for positioning. And therefore, when people say, why did you arrest these people early? They do not reach the threshold where you can arrest. You will arrest, you will present them. So early warning is very important. And therefore, we welcome the roadmap's emphasis on conflict mapping, early warning, early response, mediation, peace, and continuous monitoring of electoral environment. I propose, Chair, that it is not enough to identify areas that are likely to have certain instances of violence. violence or inter-ethnic conflict and so forth. It is also important to profile the leaders who are propagators of those instances. So if we can work together to make public information about leaders who are inciting people, as well as the areas that have a possibility of that incitement. The ministry will work with NCIC and other institutions to strengthen information sharing and coordination. And we want to appreciate the National Intelligence Service because they do a very good job in collecting information that is necessary for early warning. And it's important for once that information is relayed to the various institutions, we share all of us so that we can prevent. In some instances, we need you in places like, for example, Transmara, where you saw the report the other day, where two people fought in a bar. And then within hours, not days, within hours, it became inter-community conflict. So in such areas, you require NCIC because to work together with our Ngao officers to call for barazas, engage people. And that's the same in a number of pastoralist areas required to do the same. So hotspot mapping must be dynamic. We must monitor changing patterns of tension, including political mobilization, community disputes, organized criminal dialogue, and coordinated intervention rather than managing the results. I should not be saying much, but allow me, PCS, because you are our chief guest, just to add a few more things to this, is that early warning, we mean so. It's not because the police are unable. I like what somebody said here about rights holders and duty bearers. I think the chair of IBC. A right holder is also a duty bearer. You know, you cannot be a consumer of rights and you, at the same time, you have no duty to observe the rights of others and to protect the rights of others. The National Police Service has done a lot. We have arrested so many people. Let me start by saying in 2024 and 2025 protests, and even 2026 protests, in 2024 especially, when goons and criminals came to the city, burned the property, destroyed lives, at that point in time, the national psyche was that it was our youth. Saying we don't want our youth to be harassed, they must be given the space to do what they need to do. Last year, the same. Property destroyed, a police station in Kikuyu was raided, a court, all those kinds of people, properties looted. What was the response, the national psyche politically? These are our youth, we should not be arrested. We arrested 3,000 people, unprecedented in court. Some, including politicians, were charged in a court of law for terror because of the acts they were propagating. They were given bail terms, very lenient ones, 1,500, or some others were released, and they left there and say, and so the, you know, the judiciary, the magistrates were feeling like they're exercising democracy. So those things have now, you know, mutated to political circles. Now everybody is coming. That's why I'm saying this is a collective responsibility for all of us to make sure that we deal with this issue. Let me give another example. In Homa Bay, the other day, we escort Linda Wananchi campaigners, both in Sindo and Nyandiwa. It was during the day. And everybody can see the pictures were there. Police were escorting Orengo and the team. They went to the rally. They did 2 rallies. They finished the rallies. When they were going to Homa Bay town, at about 6 p.m., it's becoming dark, early because it's dark, and you can see there are incidences of violence here. Please call off the rallies. What did they say? They say they must go to town. We must exercise our democracy. What happened? One police officer and so forth. Later, when I told people that the best thing at that point in time was the politicians to call off the rally and come another day. What is happening now in the media? Police had to be there by all means, even in darkness, without giving that warning that we want to have. Ladies and gentlemen, we advise the people who organize rallies that, but we have responsibility to work with the security team to ensure that we protect our people. And that's why when I say these things, I see people cracking jokes around it. This is not a matter. The national security architecture, the cabinet secretary telling you here, I'm not speaking about my own things. I'm speaking about assessed security information. Enough is enough. Let's go home. It is not fair to lose lives in the circumstance and the environment that we are in, so that then we can safeguard the lives of the people of Kenya. Jukwaa la Usalama was not baraza for the sake of, some people thought it was just minister going around the country. It's a concept that we established that, and we have told our county security teams and regional security teams, and particularly county and sub-county security teams, that it was not a one-off thing. The cabinet secretary cannot come around all the time, but we were establishing Jukwaa la Usalama security actors, including those people who are playing security role in the civil society and in the community, to have a conversation about issues. The structure of Jukwaa la Usalama as a platform for early warning, conflict prevention, and protecting our democracy. I want to propose, Mr. Chair, that as team, the National Government Administration team on the ground, so that citizens are given trusted platform to speak. And I'm very happy. I have grown through civil society. So over my life, I have been, the civil society is given the space, or they create the space to engage as many young people as possible across the country, in barazas, in workshops, in meetings, so that we can distract them from negative messaging that comes from those who are propagating hatred. So it is a place for identifying information that can help us to take our country forward. So Jukwaa la Usalama therefore serves as a grassroots early warning, and violence after it has happened, we want to hear the warning before the violence. That is the purpose of Jukwaa la Usalama. Finally, Your Excellency, political leadership carries the first responsibility for setting the tone for the electoral environment. The roadmap is right to identify hate speech, dangerous speech, ethnic mobilization narratives, intolerance, and goonism as serious threats to peaceful competition. Political competition must be won through ideas. It must be won through the ballot. It must never be won through fear. No region of Kenya belongs. Citizens have the right to campaign, live, work, invest, and participate peacefully in every part of Kenya, and to marry anyone. Yeah, to marry from any part of Kenya. And my children will be withdrawn. So I was very concerned, and I was asking myself, why does, even if you withdraw, let me not go there. But I'm just saying that this rhetoric is very bad. Yeah, just imagine young people watching and dating their girlfriends or boyfriends. Office in the country, trying to even interfere with family setups. So this is the kind of narrative. I don't know. I mean, I wish there was a law that gave IEBC even greater power to ban people from running, because the hygiene of our politics really needs to be clean. Yeah, and as someone said, the political offices are for 0.0001%. Less than 2,000 people looking to serve us. But we are using money. The chairman is asking money. IG is asking for money. Everybody's asking for money to protect 2,000 people from burning the country. And then the rest of us who are 49,800,000. Yeah? 998,000 now are busy fighting ourselves so that the 2,000 can get space in government. It's such a paradox. And therefore, I must say that we need to become very vigilant in this messaging. Can we have leaders stop talking about my community, my tribe, I shudder when I see a leader say, "Mimi nataka kuambia Wajaluo, Wakalenjin, Wakikuyu," and he speaks so. And then what will you tell Kenyans? you know. Leaders must reject language that balkanizes the country into hostile ethnic or regional enclaves. No recruitment, financing, or deployment of criminal gangs. 27. The National Police Service arrested 27 hardcore criminals who were targeting the rallies in Homa Bay. They are now in release. When you see them doing the right thing, not only bashing them all the time. Lastly, I've said lastly many times, but I'm trying to shorten my speech, is that take advantage of our young people who are national asset, and we must be able to trust and engage them. They are not a security problem, but a security asset. And we must support youth-led peace initiatives, civic dialogue, sports, and community engagement that build belonging and shared purpose. We must also ensure that we protect the digital space where many information, malinformation, hate speech, and all those AI-generated deep content, which is deep fakes and so forth. I'm glad that you're asking for technology to monitor that space. I think you should be supported. Parliament should give you resources to do so, so that people can be charged. Therefore, on behalf of this ministry, I want to leave it there. On behalf that we will go out of our way to ensure that our country is safe. We will work with the media. I want to apologize to media in instances where the police were unable to protect you during some of these rallies who were injured in Homa Bay. That was really very sad. And you know, you cannot tell journalists not to cover. You can't even tell them go home, because they have to cover every incident, even when the people are going home. And I must say that there has to be DIG, the IG and the team must work closely with the media houses. And to even when deploying, we have a keen eye on where the reporters are, so that they do not find themselves in the midst of this violence. Thank you, DIG, so that then people of Kenya can get proper reporting. But in the same spirit, please, be responsible. You see, you watch the news now, story number 1, and it's only given to certain political actors. Story number 2, the same people. Story number 3, the same one. Good news is when people have gone to sleep. Yeah. In fact, may not find space, maybe number 10 or there. Yeah. When people are talking about good things, about the good of the country, usually it never gets the space. But very small stories, and then cutting some statements. When you go and cut my speech in a small clip without the context, saying the minister said, if you know that there will be criminals in a particular place, rally, you should not go. You must contextualize, you know, you must put the context in place. I said, everybody take care of yourself, there will be no police in your rallies. You must deal with the context. And you demean the institutions. You limit, and before you report anything about IBC, you better be reckless with me. I'm not saying you do, but once you do what you do with IBC, and then people lose faith with IBC, because which alternative do you have? You know, which alternative do you have? Also, all of us become responsible in the things we do. I am a very strong consumer and beneficiary of media, and I believe that responsibly deployed, it can protect our country. With those many remarks, and with a lot of apologies for having spoken for too long, it is not in my practice to do so, but I got the forum to say a few things I wanted to say. Prime Cabinet Secretary, so I apologize for behaving as though I was the chief guest. I am not. I am just John the Baptist. For His Excellency, Prime Cabinet Secretary, let us all stand and welcome His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi.
Thank you. Please be seated.
The Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of administration, Chairperson of NCIC, Kefa Umae, Nyamoya, and your entire team of commissioners and office staff, the Chair of the Electoral Commission, Erastus Ndung Epekon, the Deputy IG, who is with us here, leaders of political parties, religious leaders, partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is still morning, so I say good morning. Good morning. When Kipchumba was making his remarks, I thought it was so important. He didn't have to worry about the latitude he had. Because I think today we are gathered here for a very, very important meeting. That's why we are here. And I hope the import of this gathering will receive sufficient attention the country. That is how serious this gathering is. And that is why we are here to work together, move together from disaster. So let me begin by thanking the National Cohesion and Integration Commission for inviting me to preside over the launch free 2027 general election titled Uchaguzi, Bila, Noma. Bila. I think the title captures, in very few words, what we all want to see. We want an election that is competitive, vigorous, at times even noisy, because that is the nature of politics. But we also want an election in which, when the votes have been cast and counted, remain united as Kenyans. We may support different candidates and belong to different political parties, but we must remain one people, and this roadmap is important. Over the past several election cycles, Kenya has made progress. We have witnessed closely contested elections conducted with greater restraint than in the past. We should acknowledge that progress. But we should also be honest with ourselves. Peace is not something that we inherit permanently. It has to be built, maintained, and guarded, particularly when political temperatures begin to rise. The election cannot be delivered by NCIC alone. Neither can it be delivered by IBC alone. Religious leaders, civil society, the private sector, all must act in consonance. It requires all of us working together in the national interest. I have become increasingly convinced that in our national conversation, the economic value of peace and stability. We rightly speak about roads, railways, ports. Investments are indeed critical to our development. They create the physical foundation upon which economic growth can take place. But we must also ask ourselves a more fundamental question. What is the value of infrastructure if people do not feel safe enough to use it? What is the value of a modern railway? Security keeps people from traveling. What is the value of a port and an industrial park or a major investment if businesses and investors will bring. Peace may not appear as a line item in the national budget. By the way, if you look for it, you'll not find it. And you cannot easily place it on a conventional balance sheet. But peace has enormous economic value. Peace creates confidence to invest. It gives employers the confidence to hire. It gives young people the confidence to build their future at home, here at home. And it that their capital will be safe and the rules of the game will remain stable. Conversely, when peace and stability are disrupted, 2007 and 2008, and indeed the previous speakers, particularly the chairman of IBC, has dwelt substantially on this. Were displaced. Businesses were destroyed. Children were forced out of school. Economic activity was disrupted. Jobs disappeared. And communities that had lived side by side for generations suddenly began to treat each other with suspicion. That experience should remain firmly in our national memory. I will say something. Businesses can reopen. Markets can recover. Economies eventually regain lost ground. There's no reconstruction project that can bring that person back. That is why preventing violence, political violence, is not simply about protecting Kenyan lives. We must therefore understand that political confidence and economic confidence move together. Investors watch our politics. Employers watch our politics. Small traders watch our politics. Families watch our people become cautious. Investment is postponed. Hiring slows down. Businesses hold back. And those have the least room to absorb an economic shock. Most of you here have a secondary insurance somewhere. Don't have that insurance, that luxury. So a peaceful and credible election is not merely a political objective. It is also an economic objective and a national development objective. As rightly said here, the time Kenyans line up to vote, much of the work of preserving peace should already have been done. That is why I welcome this roadmap. But I want us to see it not simply as a document to be launched today and placed on a shelf. It must become a living framework for action. Its early warning, dialogue, and mitigation mechanisms must work before tensions become crisis, and keep channels of communication open. Because once anger becomes fear, and fear becomes hostility, restoring trust becomes much harder and much more expensive. This brings me to the role of political leadership. We can disagree. We can campaign vigorously. We can challenge one another. We can criticize with passion. That is democracy. But political competition must never become a license to our opponents. Words matter. What a leader says from a podium matters. What a political party repeats to millions of young Kenyans matters. What a media platform chooses to amplify matters. Even what each one of us forwards to a WhatsApp group matters. Sometimes it begins with a steady normalization of contempt, hatred, and suspicion. That is why, much as it is protected in national institutions, it is built in our homes, in our markets, in churches, in our communities, and increasingly now on our phones. Every Kenyan, to our young people, you are not passive spectators in the politics of this country. You are informed, energetic, you have the right to demand accountability, better leadership, and better opportunities. But I also ask you to hold yourselves to the... An election will come and go. Campaign posters will eventually come down. Politicians who disagree loudly today work together on matters of national interest. But ordinary Kenyans will continue living side family ties and relationships today that we may desperately need tomorrow. Our democratic institutions, the IEBC, must be able to manage the electoral process. The judiciary must be able to discharge its constitutional responsibilities. And all of us must respect these institutions, including when their decisions do not go in our favor. That democracy is sustained by institutions and rules, not by whether an outcome happens to please us. Our task, therefore, that would neither be possible nor desirable. Our task is to learn how to disagree without becoming enemies. Move towards 2027, we should keep reminding ourselves of a very simple truth. Kenya is bigger than any election. Kenya is a politician. Peace and stability are among our greatest national assets. We must therefore protect them with the same seriousness with which let us act early. Let us keep talking, even when conversations are difficult. Let us listen to one another. Let us be accountable for the language they use. And let us make peaceful political competition a habit rather than an exception. Because ultimately, our success is tied together. When Kenya is peaceful, we all benefit. When Kenya is unstable, we all pay. That is why the partners in launching the roadmap to a violence-free 2027 general election, Uchaguzi, Bila, Noma, just to emphasize a few things. It is true that after Kenya lost 1,400 souls. Obviously, here in Kibera, there was a situation where there was a sniper that was called the butcher of. And I want to be a little bit lurid, but I want you to try and conceptualize this. You go to a hospital or a morgue and you see life and a shattered scalp at the end. Then you realize that those who talk about enjoying a bit of there's no fun when you see young people dead, either through a bullet we must deal with these things squarely, collectively. We must not allow political link. We must not allow any form of lynching. And those listening to us, when you go to hospital, how many of you would dare ask about the ethnicity of your blood donor? Is going to save your life. So we must be careful with what we say. Equally, we must not have social media lynching. There's also media lynching. It's happening. Let's critically. And if we don't self-regulate and then manage ourselves, we are going to drive this country into chaos. If the IG and his team and the CS for Interior, imagine, just imagine, on strike and decided they're not going to work. What will you be left with? Have a bit of strike from the teachers. We can have strike from nurses. We can have the Matatu strike. But try to ever imagine reality went on strike. These are the deeper issues that we need to ask. People on the social media, Kenya is not perfect. It's not. Democracy and the way we build it's work in progress. But surely, and pretend that those are the working economies. These are the fundamental questions that we have to have here. This is the dialogue that we need to have, the conversation that we need to have. Over 14 million children are not going to school. Heaven knows how many people are displaced now. Crisis. There's the conflict in Ukraine. Who is paying attention to the conflicts in Africa? Across Africa. Nobody is going to pay special attention. It is us me, you, and many others who are not here. Not anybody else. It's us. We must elect good people. Yeah. Because if you glorify and you think that that is the best example of leadership, then eventually you're going to have a parliament that is full of thugs. You'll be creating a very dangerous institution, clothed as a parliament, but it is a dangerous institution because correction is better. I was involved in this country under the mediation process of Kofi Annan. Perhaps we succeeded to mediate and have the peace come through because there was no serious Middle East crisis. Maybe that is, if we wreck ourselves, let me tell you, the parameters, the geopolitics are different. It's not going to be the same. To bring peace and tranquility back into the country. It then morphed into the Grand Coalition government. Then laid the groundwork eventually, born out of severe bloodletting and slaughter. We cannot, our country depends on how we decide or choose to move forward. At Nyang'ori PAG a few days ago, it was the World Youth Week, UN Youth Week, so they were celebrating in different areas. So I went to one. And there was a young lady who came by climbing over the gates. We were told it was wrong. So now I have decided that I want to offer myself the gradual realization that it is through the ballot that we will solidify this country. And that is why I've been saying that his victory can only come through one way, through the ballot. Not in any other form. There's no other constitutional way. It has to be through the Luya accent like mine. I would always say, tukutane kwa tepe. Tukutane wapi? Katepe. But to get there, we have to follow the chart, the pathway, the roadmap that has been launched today. All taken this extra time, but for a good purpose. And it's a journey that we must walk together. Every young man, every young woman, every male, every female.
Allow me to thank most sincerely our chief guest, our the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora. Thank also our Cabinet Secretary and all the leaders who have stood here to speak on behalf of all of us. As I was listening to our leaders, I felt like this is what actually we are supposed to be doing. Not only here, but even in the town hall forums that we intend to have, and in the spaces where we are. You'll agree with me, the wisdom that has come out of our leaders, our Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior, and the leaders who spoke.